The Iowa caucuses began this week, officially kicking off the 2016 election. The word caucus comes from the Latin coacus, meaning having to yell at your neighbors instead of vote for some reason. On February 1st, Iowans placed their votes for their favorite presidential candidate, or more likely, the candidate they could find that doesn't make them physically ill. The caucuses act as a trial run for the election to give the parties a clearer idea of who they should nominate. Okay, so what's the difference between caucuses and primaries? And how hard will it be for me to avoid participating in them altogether? Caucuses are more of a friendly gathering instead of a simple cast your vote and leave affair, if you think shouting at your neighbors sounds like a friendly event. Neighbors come together to talk about their favorite candidates, and in Democratic caucuses, voters give a show of hands to show their support for a particular person instead of a secret ballot. Iowa is important because it is the first state to hold a caucus. Then it's New Hampshire and then Nevada. So candidates invest heavily in these states. But there are some issues with focusing so much on these early states, besides the danger of crushing their residents to death under political mailers. For one, they're not very indicative of America as a whole. Iowa has a population that is 90% white, while New Hampshire comes in at 94% compared to the national average of 77%. Jason Johnson, a political science professor and campaign advisor, has said other states are more demographically and economically diverse and are a better indicator of how you would do nationally. It's just that we've been doing it for so long that no one wants to advocate its change. This is the same thinking that has kept us white men in charge for so long, and I love it. That said, being first in these caucuses can count for a lot. If candidates fail to do well in smaller states like Iowa and New Hampshire, they can expect to find less support elsewhere too. Also, wins in these states can snowball into success later on with increased airtime and media exposure. So far, no candidate has ever won their party's nomination if they've placed lower than 4th in the Iowa caucus. But caucuses are not always right. Nearly 78% of the time, primaries were able to correctly predict the winner, compared to only 64% for caucuses. Just take a look at the last two presidential elections. Iowa had Rick Santorum and Mike Huckabee winning the GOP caucus, and neither went on to secure their party's nomination. Instead, they became president and vice president of my nightmarescape, and their approval rating is at a rock bottom. So while caucuses are still considered an important tool in elections, the primaries are the ones to watch. Primary, of course, from the Latin primus, meaning a band and a political system you barely understand. Hey, thanks for watching The Daily Desk. If you like what you saw, click to subscribe, comment below, share the link with a friend or an enemy. I don't care.